Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, 1984's Driller, a sexual thriller. This is from 1984, and I believe it just recently went out of print from Devil's Den distribution. I believe Wild Eye Releasing was doing a lot of selling of it as well, but it says Devil's Den distribution on the back here, and this is the back of the DVD. I believe at one point this was released on VHS as well, and this is now out of print as far as I know. The notorious sex horror classic Mr. Creepo presents Driller, a sexual thriller. XXX adults only. Look at this cover. Look at this cover. Now, Driller is from 1984, and this is, if you've checked out my other reviews on this YouTube page of films such as Cafe Flesh and Night Dreams, this would be the third film that I've seen so far that really is the bizarre, surreal, wildly creative, and weird X-rated film club here. Okay, we got Night Dreams, we got Cafe Flesh, and now we got Driller, a sexual thriller. If you want to see an X-rated film that pushes the boundaries of genres, of film styles, of weirdness, of late night weirdness and sexuality, and really going into horror and atmosphere and the surreal, I welcome you to Driller, a sexual thriller. Let's get into this movie right here. This this is a crazy, crazy movie. This is just freaking nuts on so many great levels. In many regards, well, the title, and you can see on the front here that this is a play or is inspired by Michael Jackson's Thriller in many ways. And so but then it takes that inspiration and the story and the creativity of the film kind of uses that as an inspiration and goes off in wildly different directions with the story, obviously with the sexuality, with the characters, with the environments and the feels and the vibes. So essentially we have this wild, mysterious, famous singer, and he's just performed a concert local in town, and we have a girl who's a huge fan of his, and her boyfriend not so much. That night, she lays in bed watching a horror movie, and all of a sudden, all of her fantasies and dreams of this singer that she loves and admires and is obsessed over so much, the same way people were obsessed over Michael Jackson, now invades her innermost thoughts and nightmares and dreams, and all of a sudden a surreal quality to what is happening in the nighttime in her bedroom, in her mind, in her fantasies happens. This is Driller, a sexual thriller. I'm at a loss for words here because it's so wild. The music in this film, again, is inspired by some Michael Jackson songs, but it'll never breach copyright because it almost takes like similar beats to certain songs like Billie Jean and even Thriller, and then like changes the tones though and the melodies and obviously lyrics, and then it becomes something even weirder and more unique sounding than you've ever heard before. There are two main songs in the film that get played in different variations and lengths throughout the film, kind of jamming on into different directions and different instrumentations throughout the film. And At first you might say, oh my gosh, what is this? Because, oh, this is obviously, playing off of Michael Jackson's music, Michael Jackson's looks, and things like that, and the thriller of video and song. But then all of a sudden you realize, because of that inspiration, the music is so freaking weird because it becomes a like when you first hear it, you might hear the inspiration from Michael Jackson, but then as the music goes on, that music exists in and of itself as its own unique beast. It's rhythmic, it's disco-y, funky, and the vocals are very bizarre because the person singing them kind of looks androgynous. You don't know if it's a man or a woman. It's a man, but then he has long red nails and kind of has feminine qualities. But then so do the vocals, who is ever singing him in real life, someone known as Q in the credits. And then we have other pieces of music in this film. We have like church spooky hymn chanting, like from monks, and almost like a cathedral sound, a gothic cathedral sound. We also have horror, like Halloween sound effects of werewolves and thunder and lightning and cackling and laughter. We also have this really interesting piece of music, and very unique, again, and experimental, based on acoustic guitar, but then going off into some very interesting patterns of synth or something that are bringing some really interesting atmospheres. So there's a lot of music in this film. It's very, very interesting. And this is also a film of many different styles, visually, story-wise, and sexually, as an X-rated adult feature. Gosh, we have, dance sequences in this film, with real choreography. It seems in the credits that the person who did the choreography also edited the film. The choreography is really well done and very, inspired again by Michael Jackson, but then also going off in its own directions. And this dancing and choreography will make its way throughout the film sporadically in very interesting, weird situations. We also have computer animation, but showing like to show a house or to show a castle, and then you go inside. A lot of times low budget movies will kind of use a still frame of an image, and nowadays low budget movies will use CGI to show like a big castle, and then they film it on a set somewhere. But for this they use like almost like Nintendo looking animation, like from if you know the Nintendo game from the 80s called Maniac Mansion. It almost reminded me of that. Really, really interesting. We also have some very crazy horror gothic atmosphere, almost reminded me of like haunted houses, in a dungeon, and tons of fog and wild lighting, low rolling fog, and different rooms being lost in the fog and in webs and in castles. And it didn't look that low budget, it didn't look that cheap. It actually had a really thick haunted house attraction vibe in this one section of the film. The film takes place at kind of this weird concert hall, and then this girl's house, and then in her bedroom with a spooky midnight television show on, the Fright Night movie almost. And then all of a sudden it goes into this surreal nightmare, haunted house, gothic horror, ritualistic, sexual, bizarre. We have masks and makeup and creatures and monsters and ex-presidents, and we have a lesbian scene with glowing dildos. Look out for Renee Summers from Loose Times at Ridley High, which I also reviewed in this YouTube page, and many others. Then we have guys wearing kind of bondage gear that almost looks almost like gay bondage gear that you would find. We also have these wildly bizarre orgies that are involving like coffins and vampires and zombies and blood and like I said, masks and creatures and makeup and sweat. We even have a guy like an Igor character, and we even have some anal fingering, and we also have a girl actually squirting in the movie as well. There is a ton of wildly crazy stuff in this film. There's also that real kind of low budget, empty vibe, that low budget, empty feel to the film as well, which fits this film so absolutely perfectly. There's oh my gosh, there's times where you feel like the choreography and the dance numbers are like really professional and kind of cool, really really cool looking. There's like really bizarre special effects involving a very large black penis that acts as a drill. We have we have really outrageous kind of dubbing that seemed like intentional, where there'll be like, it'll be the voices of certain characters in the scene, almost sounding like someone's doing a commentary over the scenes. Now the interesting thing also is, and the dialogue, the dubbed dialogue is sometimes freaking hilarious. Now we also have, this is a film which kind of starts with a good deal of dialogue, especially between the main girl and her boyfriend. And the way the boyfriend speaks is so weird, yet so addicting. He's so bizarre, the way he talks, and especially sexually, and his inflections and everything else. It's like 50s, but it's not. It's weird. But then, for like more than half of the film, there's no dialogue at all. I mean, it almost acts like a music video, but there's times in there where there's no music at all. But then you have like kind of that weird dubbed talking on top of it. Tons of fog in the movie. Kind of some wild orgy sequences in this film, involving fog as well. And sporadic, there will be dance numbers in between those, those orgy sequences and stuff. And wall to wall sex, but in kind of the horror nightmare atmosphere of the film without the dialogue, but done in very creatively surreal, almost like as if they're different rooms in a haunted house. Like if you went to an X-rated haunted house, these would be the different rooms. This room would have the two girls with body makeup on, with glowing penis dildos. This room would have the two guys and the mysterious girl laying down. This room would have the squirting girl with Igor. I mean, this is, and there's a real kind of dirty, grimy vibe that mixes with a Halloween like horror vibe, like low budget horror, like shot on video vibe or something. So there's so many different vibes going on here, and it's freaking wild, man. The main girl of the film, I'm blanking on her name right now, but Taja Ray. I believe she's on the poster art for it as well. She's very sexually attractive. She looks awesome in the film, and she's just great. Curvy body, everything else, and everybody's awesome. It's a very ethnically diverse cast too. Like what I mean is, you have a lot of black people, you have white people. It's very diverse, which you might not always get in an X-rated film. So this is really, really wow. Here we go. Driller, a sexual thriller, 1984. Hard to get now. Now it's hard to get, no pun intended. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films like Driller, which I believe need to be talked about more. Thank you so much, and feel free to check out my own personal films by Googling Apartment 1014 Films. Thank you so much. Check out all the other reviews. Bye!